Coming live from Washington, D.C. is our guest today evening. Welcome to this very special show of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts either through their industry insights, through information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Adam Bird, CEO and founder of Heroes Media Group, and also founder of SMG Beverage. Welcome to the show, Adam. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. And let me ask you in my very simple manner, they say a lot can happen over coffee and alcohol. And you are using both of them for doing something great, something good. The larger good, greater good for the good of the community.
Yeah.
And a lot of respect for that. I'll ask you. So tell us about both these coming together, of what exactly Heroes Media Group is and how HMG Beverage comes into the picture of the mission that you have taken from a life, from a being into the military, then doing so much of stuff, and today serving the community in the whatever way you can. So over to you. Take your time.
Yeah, no. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the show today. I mean, absolutely, it's a pleasure. I did 9 years in the military. I got out, had a corporate job, went a couple different corporate jobs, and finally, I got to a point where my son. I was a single parent for 14 years, and at the time, my son was getting ready to go into junior high, and I didn't feel like I had to ask somebody permission to take care of my son or ask permission to go to one of his events or after school festivities, whatever. So I ended up quitting my job, and I went full force into as a serial entrepreneur. First company that I started at that time was a podcast network for all veterans, and ran that for about 3.5-4 years. Had a business partner, ended up going our separate ways. So the next day after we closed that, I started what is now known as Heroes Media Group. And we define heroes as military, veterans, firefighters, first responders, educators, and then there's a clergy piece in there. But when you think about it, anybody can be a hero, right? To anybody. So we wanted to change the narrative of how media was delivered and consumed. I think we can all agree that there's a lot of negativity in the world. Let's focus on the positive. And I think there's a lot more stories that are positive that aren't being shared that should be. So that was kind of our focus when it started. I've been podcasting and doing internet radio since about 2012. And people kept asking me, hey, can you help me start my podcast? Can you do this? Can you do that? So that's kind of what Heroes Media Group morphed into, was a podcast network that became a directory, and then we just started adding services. We're a full-fledged media company. We offer editing services for podcasts, transcription services. I mean, anything that has to do with podcasts, we offer it. And then we also do a publishing side as well. We help authors self-publish their books and then turn that book into an audio book. And again, a lot of that is to just give people a voice, a platform to where they can be heard. We started off this company with 3 shows, and we're up to about 42 shows on the network right now. So we've been going strong. We just celebrated our 6th year, and kind of fast forward from that, when the pandemic hit, everybody was kind of hurting and whatnot. We actually got busier because more people had time to podcast and stuff. So more people were creating podcasts. And during that time, I had a coffee brand that I was just using, honestly, for selfish reasons. I just didn't want to pay full price for coffee. And I was, and then at the same time, it was a great gift to give somebody. So I created a blend. And after several years, my roaster at the time said, hey, you want to expand that line? I said, yeah. So I started a beverage company, and we created several different blends that we had. And we started using those, and people had a subscription. It was going very well. Excuse me. And then I said, hey, you know what? There's something to this beverage company. I want to take the funds that we make from the coffee and give it back to the community. But there's more to it. There's like, I just don't want coffee. Let's do spirits. So we went out and we created a gin, and that was just the start of it, and that's going very, very well. And there's more to the beverage company. We're eventually going to have a wine and several other things that I can't get into right now yet, but we're expanding that business. And the purpose of that business was we take the funds, a portion of those proceeds, and give it back to the Heroes community. That's why we started the beverage company. And it's looking good. I'm very excited, and like we're going into our second year with that company, and it all kind of ties together. It's easy because you've been doing the media side of things for so long, like marketing and stuff like that just kind of comes natural. Been doing it for a while, so we figured let's create some of these sister companies that are going to help push stuff out. We'll push it out through the media company, and let's try to give back to as many people and be the change, be a positive for the world, and help people where they need it. My purpose in life now, that I feel is, it isn't about chasing the money. Don't get me wrong. I like money. Money is good. It can be used for a lot of good things, and we want to use it to help people get to where they want to go in a positive way.
Wonderful, wonderful. In fact, I saw your, beverage company's website, and all the whatever time I could spend there, means it's so enticing. I have to have coffee, but the way you have presented it, very less a number of times I have seen things presented so nicely. As I said, it's enticing, and I could feel it's so delicious. Means if that's the right word I'm using, but you see, it's like if you see it, it looks good, then you want to just try it out. So I'm sure it's a very great blend, whether it's the coffee part or raising somebody else's spirit, not only through your what you call product, but also through your work. So tell us more about the Heroes community. Means what it is, though I understand what a community is, but how does actually how you are impacting lives down there with whatever you do, and changing lives. How does it start? How does it start?
I think the basic foundation of it for like Heroes Media Group was to share stories. So at first it was interviewing teachers, interviewing law enforcement personnel, interviewing firefighters, people that are in the Heroes community. And after a while here in the United States, things were kind of heating up, and there was a lot of negativity towards law enforcement and stuff like that. And you found that there was a lot of people that didn't want to do interviews because they felt like, and it was certainly understandable. So then we had to make a switch, and we're like, all right, how can I grow the business and support that community and the community heroes? So it was, now when we bring in a new podcast, the first question I ask before they join our network, do you support community heroes? Meaning, are you pro military? Are you pro firefighters, first responders, teachers, and stuff like that? And a lot of people are like, you think of some negative thing. Well, the teacher did this, or the law enforcement did this, and you're going to have that no matter what. You go to a Fortune 500 company, you're going to have a bad seed. It's nothing's perfect, right? Again, we focus on the positive. So one of the things that we ask people before they join our network is, do you support community heroes? And if the answer is yes, then we kind of dig a little bit deeper. And then we go to events the conferences that support community heroes, whether it's a teacher's conference. I was a high school teacher for a few years as a substitute, so I try to stay involved in that community. I have friends and family that are law enforcement. There's a police week that happens here in DC every year. We try to go or send a couple of people there to support that in some form or fashion. The military, we got a lot of people in the military still, and I try to go to events that that are for veterans or for the military active duty side of things, and go and we support those types of events and stuff as well. So we try to do and support events that are giving back to our community heroes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a lot of good work. In fact, in your how was the life at military? You see, why I'm asking this is, you started with the military, spent there quite a number of years, then
Yeah.
you came out of it. Normally people have their own experiences, and sometimes very good, sometimes they have their own issues to deal with, because military is not an easy job. It can be tough, quite tough sometimes. I remember I saw Saving Private Ryan, but though, in that, the Tom Hanks character, he said at one place that before he was in that particular unit, he was a teacher. In your case, after the military, you became a teacher.
Yeah.
Now, how was that transition? How did that happen? And normally people from ex-military, they go to security agencies
Yeah.
and all those things. But you went into a noble line, then you started a business, and and with a larger mission, that a lot of companies, big companies, also come out with that vision, but a lot of them struggle to do what they actually intended out to do in terms of community work.
Right.
And sometimes it's just for just for the show of it. But you are actually doing it in whatever way, and in an innovative way, I would say. That's why I just thought I would talk to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Coming out of the military for me was kind of, at first I was upset because I didn't want to get out, and I kind of felt like it was just time for me to get out. I had an incident where I broke my ankle, and we were getting ready or my unit was getting ready to do something here. I was in the National Guard, and we were getting ready to I forget, I think it was like a hurricane or something. I couldn't go, didn't have a family care plan, and it was like, all right, you know what? I'm not really going in the direction that I thought I'd be going in my career. I've done just short of 9 years at the time. I'm a single parent, let's make some changes. And it was, my son is a big part of everything that I've have done up until this point in my life. Excuse me. And so I just made that decision where it was just like, it's time to, if I can't do the things that I want to do in this career, then it's time to go pursue something else. And it was all based around being a parent for me. That was the important side of it. The high school teacher thing was kind of, that fell in my lap accidentally. Several people kept asking me, hey, come teach this class. We need somebody that can teach these kids some discipline. I got asked to be a in-school suspension teacher. And I was like, I don't want the problem kids. I turned the job down 3 times before finally somebody cornered me at a coffee shop and says, listen, we really could use your help. All right, it can't be that bad. So I ended up enjoying it, and it worked out really good. And it gave me the inside to see what teachers go through, at least in the area that I was in. This was in Arizona. And then reaching out to other teachers across the country shortly after that, once I was kind of had my foot in the door, I was able to talk to other teachers and see what was going on in their parts of the country and stuff like that. And I used all of that stuff to kind of create what we're doing to help support teachers and stuff, even today. And it's teachers have a tough job. It's not easy.
Yes.
A lot of the time they are told what they can and can't teach. It's not necessarily their classroom in a lot of instances, not all of them, but it's just different. And it's not an easy task. So that's kind of how all of that started. And then from there, I ended up not doing that anymore and started doing this podcasting full time, helping other podcasters full time. I coach podcasters. I travel the country quite a bit. So it's a busy lifestyle. It's a fun lifestyle. And I feel like for once in my life, I'm living what my purpose is.
And your purpose is to help the community.
Is to help others get to where they want to go. That's basically my purpose in life is to try to be positive, spread positivity, help the heroes community, and help others get to where they want to go.
That's a great thought. Not many people are able to keep that thought with them. They may have it at some point in time, but they actually, not many are able to pursue it. And especially, Adam, you had your own things to take care of. You came out of the military. You had your son to take care of, and your sole purpose could have been just to earn money, to save, to save enough for the future, to have maximum profit, as they say in any corporate line. So
let me say something here with that, because the money thing is always a key thing that I get asked and whatnot. I'm not a millionaire yet, hopefully someday, soon that'd be a goal, but I realized this was probably
you got a heart of gold, my friend.
It's when I was in my late 30s. I'm in my early, mid 40s right now, and in my late 30s, I realized, when I stopped chasing a dollar, life became less stressful, more enjoyable, and the money became a lot easier to achieve, because you weren't focused on just getting the dollars. So if you focus on your purpose, then the profit will always follow. If you put your purpose first, everything else falls into place a lot easier. And I think nowadays people, they lose sight of that. And let's face it, like, oh, how am I going to pay for childcare? How am I going to pay the mortgage or the car payment or whatever the case may be? And we get so wrapped up on all of these things that I think are a distraction. They're important. Don't get me wrong. They're important, but shut that off and focus on your purpose. And I guarantee it's going to take a little bit of time. Not every day is going to be easy, but if you focus on your purpose, profit and everything else in your life will become easier and more enjoyable.
So when did you find your purpose? Was it?
I always felt like I had a purpose, and I just didn't know what it was. But I would say I was probably about 37 years old. I just turned 44. And I realized probably when I accepted it, I knew it was there, and I had started doing it for years, but I always kind of like played with my toe in the water. I didn't jump in, right? I didn't take that leap of faith that some people say. I was just like, I'm going to play it safe, and I'll just kind of like, if this doesn't work out, well, then I'll go back this direction or whatnot. And finally, I was just like, I threw my hands up, and I prayed about it. I said, God, if this is the direction you want me to go, let me jump. And finally I just jumped. And when I did it, I'll never forget this. I remember I was in my car, and I was just like, God, if this is the direction you want me to go, let me do this. And I made the decision to do it. And I felt like the world lifted off my shoulders. It was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And from that point forward, everything seemed to get just a little bit easier day by day. And listen, I'm not saying life is easy. It's certainly not, but life is what you make it, right? So you have to have that mindset. I choose to wake up in the morning. I put a smile on my face before my feet hit the floor. I give thanks for the things that I have in my life, and then I go about my day. And it's that simple. But you have to have you choose. You can either be happy that day, or you can wake up and choose to be miserable. I choose to be happy.
You make it sound very simple, Adam, because but you see, it's very difficult to manage just even one thing in life. You were managing your transition from after being a teacher, and then you came into business. So business for a ex-military or ex-teacher, it's not an easy thing. Then you were into podcasting. 2012 was a different world altogether. You don't have that much of support. Even today, it can be confusing for a lot of people. Then you got your son to take care of. And then you started taking also care of bit by bit the community itself. Now, it was not a side work for you. You were doing some serious work for people, where bit by bit getting not dependent, but they were looking up to you. They knew that this is one place I can go to talk to. You're helping authors, you are helping other podcasters. Then in whatever way you were doing your stuff, and then you had the transition to this beverage company. So even that's why I said that you make it sound simple, but for some people, all these things can be too consuming. How does one go about it for people who are passing through difficult or say different phases in their life, but they want to make something out of it? As you said, life is what you make of it. How can you give them some sort of
Yeah.
a
Yes.
guiding hand in terms of how they should look forward? Say somebody who is 35 and wants to take that life full of purpose.
Yeah, that's such a great question, because first off, thank you for saying that I make it look easy. It's not. I have my days, believe me. Like, every day is a day. Don't get me wrong, but it starts with your mindset. Quite frankly, you have to choose that you want to make this, and if it's something that you want bad enough, then put your all into it and go for it. So when you're trying to break this down and you look at everything that you have in front of you, one of the things that I do, and I still do this to this very day, I carry a notebook with me and a pen everywhere I go, because if I have an idea, I'll write it down. Or if there's something that I need to do later that day, or something that I need to do later that week.
I got also a blue notebook.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I write stuff down, and when you write stuff down, now you have a list, and you don't have to think about, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. If you start thinking about it and you don't write it down, you start thinking about it, and then it's like you spend most of your day worrying about it and thinking about it, and nothing gets done. Write it down and then start making small actions to it, because once you get something done, boom, it's checked off. Then next thing you know it, you move on to the next thing, and that's checked off. And before you know it, your list is done, and you have the evening to spend with your family, or to do something that you want to do, or maybe something that didn't get done today can roll over into the next day or later on in that week or what have you. But write stuff down. That's the key thing, in my opinion. Well, let me back up. I think the first thing that you have to do is you have to be in the right frame of mind, and it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard, but you have to choose to be positive about it. And then the second thing is write everything down. Wake up and whether you do it at night before you go to bed, hey, this is what I want to accomplish tomorrow, or when you wake up and you're sitting at your kitchen table having your morning coffee or tea or milk or whatever it is that you drink, write your stuff down to the things that you want to get accomplished that day. Start there. And then lastly, what I'd say about this is, don't be so hard on yourself. So many people are hard on, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, blah, blah. And I'm not saying like the woe is me mentality, but it's like, man, like if you get something done, celebrate that. Be proud of yourself that you got something done. It's baby steps, because eventually what's going to happen is more and more good things are going to happen. But you have to take that first step.
Yeah. So tell me one thing. You do something great for the community, but I've rarely seen you using the word philanthropy. Whereas a lot of people who do whatever they do, little more, but they're very proud of using the word philanthropy or philanthropist. So tell me, what is the doing good part? What does it mean to you? Giving back to society mean for you? Is it you feel happy so you do it, or is it you feel obligation, or is it that some people do it the way they do and want to? I don't know how to put it. They are also doing great work, but I'm talking about purpose.
Nah, that's kind of for me, giving back or doing something to help somebody else makes me feel good. So I could easily say the reason why I help other people is for selfish reasons. And I'm okay with being selfish in this instant, because I'm helping somebody else get to where they want to go. So when I'm giving back to the community, and that could be a plethora of things. It could be whether it's time, money, coaching people, doing this, volunteering stuff, whatever the case may be. When I'm helping somebody else, it feels good knowing, because I've seen people start businesses. I've helped people get to different places, and you see their success, and they're like, yeah, I did it, blah, blah, blah. We did this, did that. Or, I made, $500,000 last year in my company, and I have you to thank. And like, for me, I don't like, what are you talking about? Like, you did that. I didn't do anything. And it was like, well, you told me to do this, or I followed your advice on this particular thing, and it helped. Okay, great. I don't look at that as like that's their self. I'm certainly honored, but I'm not. I don't look I don't look for accolades or anything like that. For me, it's all about just helping people, and I think the philanthropy side of it. I didn't really like using the word philanthropy. I had a friend of mine talk me into using that word actually, because for me, it's just I don't know. You're helping your fellow human.
Right. And how have been their response? Firefighters, veterans, first responders, law enforcement, educators. How you have interacted, done a lot of good for the community. How have been their response? How have they taken at whatever you have been doing all through?
For we just did something with a nonprofit to help veterans, and they were just like they're very appreciative of like either getting airtime, like if we do an interview with them or we come out and take pictures or whatnot. They're always appreciative. We did some stuff for some firefighters here locally, a small community, and they were just like, "Oh, this is so cool! You get to come out." And we did a thing and we submitted it to the local paper, and they ended up using some of our content to share what the community was, was coming together to help these people, and that kind of started with us kind of pushing that, and it was really good. Everything's always been positive, and appreciative, and it's not like I'm not looking for a thank you or anything like that. I'm there because because I care. Like I'm there, or the team's there because we care and because we feel that you're important. What you're doing is important, and we want to help share what you're doing because it's a positive thing that you're doing. And again, it ties back to our base foundation is let's change the narrative. There's enough negativity. The mainstream media covers all of that negativity quite well. There isn't a lot of people that do positive stories. Let's share those. Let's share that. Let's get out there and rub elbows with the people that are making a change in the communities for the better. That's it. It's that simple.
Again, you have put it in nice and simple words. You do it because you care.
Yeah, that's
Many
it.
people, many people want to care, but they can't, or they hardly care.
And that's unfortunate. That's the world that we live in. But again, that's a choice, and it goes and it all. I tell you what, it goes all the way back to when you wake up in the morning. What are you going to do? Are you going to be positive, or are you going to be grumpy and miserable for the day?
Right. So every morning you get up and you make that choice,
Yep.
whether you want to be miserable or you want to make it a good day for yourself and a good day for everybody else around you. But tell me, I'm getting inquisitive. As a single parent, how did your son see your journey? Like starting up, he must be wanting your time, and
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, it was like my son first over everything. But growing up, we covered a lot of professional athletes, and I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of athletes and talked with movie stars and stuff like that. And he got to meet a lot of professional athletes and stuff like that. And for him, it was just kind of like, it's just dad's job. Like it wasn't, he just kind of looked at it, was just like, it was the normal. Like that's a normal life. I was like, you realize this isn't normal at all, right? And he's like, whatever. Like it was just kind of water off a duck's back for him. Because my son and I, he's in college now, and we have a great relationship, and it's always been kind of like dad's doing what he needs to do, and I just got to make sure I'm, doing what I need to do, and then when we're together, it's what are we going to do today? Or have fun or whatnot. So his upbringing was, it was very hard on him, growing up as far as like very disciplined and whatnot. And I would contribute a lot of that to my military background. He was very well in school, and now in college, and he's done very well there. I'm very proud of him. But he's made my life. I think he's made my life. A big part of it was purpose. purposeful. And that's kind of where it started with him, is like my purpose in life was, all right, I can't screw up anymore. I got to grow up because I got somebody else I got to take care of. And if I focus on him, then everything else will kind of fall into place. And it did. And then when I started my own business, the first business, and him seeing kind of how things were going there, and eventually maybe someday if he chooses to get in the family business, then great. If not, he can go do whatever it is that he wants to do. But he keeps telling me, and I talked to him last night, he's like, Dad, he's like, how things going? I was like, good, we're staying busy. He's like, good. He's like, because I got 3 years left of college. So it's like, I was like, yeah, I know, thanks. So but yeah, I mean, that's really it. I mean, it's a great relationship.
Nice, very nice. In fact, as a single parent, it's a lot of learning, to how one can take, things that they care about their purpose, about taking care of the person who they are responsible for and whom they love the most, and at the same time thinking about others also.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of good stuff today, Adam. A lot of good stuff. And today you have started a day with a good thought, and you are talking a lot of good stuff. It's evening time, 6:54 down here in India, and I will obviously sleep tonight with a much better thought than I normally do every evening. And it happens because you meet people who care.
Yeah.
And when you meet people who care, it always becomes a different day, a different time in your life, a different, world altogether. Things start looking so bright. You forget about a lot of gloom that you see around in the world,
right,
that at the moment. So with the thought that we must care for whoever and as much as we can, I would like to say, not a close to this show, but only a simple wrap to this edition of the KAJ Masterclass, with the thing that at any point in time, if I can be a part of, your, heroes community efforts in whatever I am doing. If anybody wants to tell their story to this part of the world, to India and a lot of places that my podcast goes to, I would be more than happy.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
See, I really mean it.
Yeah.
I really mean it. And I don't need to say anything. You just tell me that. You don't even ask for it. You just tell me and I'll do it.
And that same goes to you. Anything that we can do for you and your community over here on this side, just let me know. We are here for you. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. You have made it a better day for me, Adam. And with that thought, it's a wrap on this edition of the KAJ Masterclass. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much for your time.